Call the meeting to order. Our first order of business this evening is the election of officers, and we will entertain motions.
I would move that Jim Codner continue as chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next item on the agenda then would be to take nominations for a vice chair. Do I hear a motion?
I would move that Gwen be the vice chair. She would accept that? No?
I hadn't been here long enough, so I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Mr. Egar, how about you continuing as vice chair? Would you like to?
I would if everybody else would.
Bill
want
here
me
has
to.
been chairman in the past. He's very well experienced. He could take over in a second, but
Whatever.
it'd be a good experience for you to be vice chair.
All right.
Okay, I move that we elect Mr. Egar as vice chair. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Raise your hand. It's unanimous. Secretary. I move that Mr. Comey be named secretary.
Second.
Mr. Comey, I assume you're willing to take on that responsibility?
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Unanimous? Okay, we were provided a calendar, gentlemen. I got it somewhere. I won't dig it out unless we have a calendar in
So
front of
next
us.
page.
Entertain a motion that we adopt this calendar for the year of
So moved.
2022.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye, please, raise your hand.
Aye.
That's unanimously approved. Okay, before we get going on the specifics, I'd like to just comment on how we run these meetings. First of all, I'd like to congratulate, I think there's a lot of you here that were here last time to hear particularly the Arrowhead request. That request, that session handled very well. People were very respectful, said your piece, didn't get any cross comments or anything like that. So I congratulate that group, and to the extent that this group is represented here, thank you very much. Normally, the applicant is allowed to present their position on what they're requesting. There's then, we ask the staff to make any comments about that request. Then we allow citizen comments, either for or against the request, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say. And then the applicant has a chance to rebut any negative comments, any comments against his application. Nominally, we'd like to hold everything to 3 minutes. Applicant, we may provide 5 minutes or more to have what they want to say, depending on how complex their request is. But request that everyone, hold to that. Let's not be repetitious. If someone's already said what you want to say, you're welcome to come up here and say, hey, I've already said what I want to say, and go sit down. If you really want to say something, please do. I want everyone to have a chance to have their say or to get their view represented. We'll stay here as long as it takes to get that done. But the only time I'm going to shorten your presentation is if you're just going on and repeating yourself and repeating what other people have said. Then we'll have, after we've done all that, the board will discuss after that, we close the opportunity for input, and the board then discusses and reaches a decision. That making sense to everybody? If I said that correctly? Okay. So that's, in general, how we proceed. Our next item of business is to approve the minutes of the last meeting, 11/30/2021. Now, we may have some discussion on this, but do I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. One thing that happened is we had an extensive letter from Mr. Radcliffe, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. Extensive letter pointing out what they felt were issues with the minutes. That caused me personally to try to understand what the minutes really were intended to be. So perhaps our lawyer, Mr. Root, could give us a definition of minutes. What should they do? What should they involve? If you could, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the minutes for public bodies, as you all said, they're defined by statute, and in essence, there's some housekeeping matters, when you meet, what you're meeting about, obviously who's present, things of that nature. As to the essence of what was spoken about, the statute just says you need to capture the substance of it. So it's obviously not a transcript of everything that was said, or even a fulsome outline of what each speaker said, but get the gravamen or the essence of what was said. So it's kind of a truncated version. Obviously, you can't have a 50-page transcript of the minutes. You know, for county council, our minutes usually run about 3 pages for a 4-hour-long hearing or meeting. So just to give you an idea, that's done in a variety of different ways. There's not a whole lot of case law or AG opinions that really elaborate on what's when you hit the mark. But, you know, it's not kind of a Goldilocks thing. So
Okay.
not too hot, not too much, not too little.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Root. Okay, the reason I brought that up is we got a rather extensive letter from the Ratliffs with raising objections to how the minutes were prepared and asking for the minutes to be changed whatever. Has everyone had a chance to review that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Based on what Mr. Root has told us, I think we need to decide whether these minutes are a fair representation of what happened at that meeting. If we want to talk later when this particular issue comes up, we can talk the letter from Mr. Ratliff and however we want to. Let's not get into the details, just we need to decide. We can accept the minutes as written. We can make revisions to the minutes. We can send the minutes back to staff and say, hey, guys, you just got to do a better job. So that's what our options are. And let me make one other comment. Mr. Coley, could you please represent to us that to the best of your knowledge, these minutes represent what transpired at the meeting
To the best of my knowledge.
in the spirit of what Mr. Root defined for us. So you feel these are accurate minutes.
Reasonable.
We get to make final decision, guys. So if you think there's something missing or needs to be changed, we can do that. So, got a motion and a second to approve the minutes? How about discussion based on all that stuff?
I feel the minutes as presented are adequate.
Bill, any comments?
I
I
agree.
think if it goes to a higher court, they're gonna be questioned. The Ratliffs did bring up several good points of things that were omitted, and you made comment that there were multiple supporting emails, but you only read 1 or 2. All of those emails need to be part of the minutes in some form or fashion. People took time to write those emails.
Yes.
And they do not need to be swept under the carpet. They need to be there so that future court action, this seems to be headed that way, will have that to work with.
Are you suggesting that maybe we have an addendum and just attach those to the minutes?
I think that addendum, if that's possible, as well as Mr. Ratliff's letter, all needs to be part of the minutes.
Okay. Mr. Comey?
All of the comments are put in after the minutes are approved. Until the minutes are approved, they're left out. They will be in the final version.
Okay?
Of the approved minutes. And also,
And all of the emails will be in the final.
That's correct.
Okay.
and also, obviously, from the detail presented in the letter, there is a video available online right now. And anyone wants to review in chapter and verse, exactly what transpired, it's either video or we also have an audio transcript. You can listen to the whole meeting. So
But I think it should be, there should be added now. It shouldn't be something that gets lost in the shuffle. I mean, they took time, they made a point of correcting us, and we need to stand corrected, and we need to put it in there somewhere.
I mean, their letter.
Their letter
Well,
and
their letter,
all of
okay,
the
their letter
emails.
has been accepted, or we can accept it now as a part of the official record of the
Okay,
proceedings.
okay.
That's without, does that need to be part of a motion, or is that the letter that was sent to us, that's part of the record, isn't it? It's
It
been
is.
sent to us, and it's
Yes.
part of the record of our deliberations.
I just want to make sure it's not going to get lost.
I don't think so. Mr. Coley's
Okay.
going to make sure, I mean, that's why he's secretary, just to make sure it's all, and I agree with you, totally. We need to have all of that as part of the official
That's right.
record.
Otherwise, we are a kangaroo court, and I don't want to be a part
No,
of that.
no, don't want any part of that. So, based on Mr. Coley's representation, that all of the documentation we've seen so far, all the emails, any letters so far, are going to be part of the final record of the proceeding.
Okay?
Okay.
Then I say we vote to accept the minutes.
Okay, all in
I have a-
favor of accepting the
no, I
minutes
have-
as,
I have an editorial comment. My name is misspelled in the minutes. It's Eagar.
just as an aside, before we take vote, we had other issues decided at the last meeting. Any issues with any of those minutes? Okay, so I think we have a motion to approve the minutes as stated, except as revised to reflect Mr. Egar's name spelling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Okay, minutes are unanimously approved. Okay. Now, here's where we deviate a little bit from the stated procedure like I talked about. This is variance request continuation, number VA 21-011. Ridgewater Engineering and Surveying. Joe Meters is requesting an 18.1-foot variance from the 50-foot right-of-way for the entrance of the subdivision due to the end of the existing road not making full access to the property and only having a prescriptive ditch to ditch right-of-way. TMS number 150-00-01-459, an unaddressed parcel with the closest address of 599 Ellenberg Road, Seneca, South Carolina, 29672. Okay, just to decide where we are on this one, we've already heard all the public comment. The requesting party and the responding party have had time at our last meeting to present their views. We had a number of emails that were received that were referred to. We've taken those into account, and we had a large number of public commenters last time. And after we did all that, we closed the opportunity for input. So given that, after that, we received a rather lengthy correspondence from
Mr. Ratcliffe.
Mr. Ratliff, very sorry, that we've accepted into the proceedings. As we closed that portion of the hearing, we did two things. We asked staff to come up with a definite delineation of who owns the road, who owns the road, and we asked, hey, could the two parties please get together and iron out the issues, some of the issues that you've raised. So, first of all, Mr. Coley, could you tell us who owns the road?
Mr. Root's here.
Mr. Root's going to help us, okay. Mr. Root, could you please tell us?
If I could, and just as a parliamentary matter, so we're square that way,
Please
could
do.
someone make a motion to take from the table, since you all tabled it last
Oh, we
time?
didn't do that, you're
No.
right.
Good.
We're on that, yes. I'd entertain a motion to
So moved.
bring this issue from the table. Is there
So
a second?
moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor of bringing the issue off the table? Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
So the ownership issue is a little bit, it's not as clear, we'll say, as you might think of fee simple ownership in your property. You have ownership rights, interests in the land. I don't think there's any question about who owns the rights underneath the road. The question is the traveling surface of the road. Up until the latter part of last week, all of my best information from the Roads and Bridges Department was that the county had maintained this road all the way to the end of the paved section for 20 years, which is the required time for a prescriptive easement. 20 years, adverse to the other owners, with a well-defined area that's been maintained. Since that decision was made on my part, and based on the information from the Roads and Bridges Department, I received an affidavit that called that into question as to where the end of county maintenance is. I've not fleshed that out yet, but I think there's a question of fact at this point that needs to be delved into a little bit more if it has to be. So at this point, I can't say definitively, and I'm not the final arbiter in any event, but I couldn't say definitively where that end of county maintenance is. If it's in front of Mr. Ratliff's or all the way to the end of the paved section.
Okay, so we don't have an answer tonight. That's fine. Could you define for us, please, we hear the term prescriptive easement. What
Yeah,
does
I'd
that
love
mean?
to.
What is that?
So you can get an easement, we all have easements, most folks who own property will have an easement that they give to a utility provider. A lot of folks would be surprised that they have an easement that goes into their front yard for quite a ways that perhaps is held by the DOT. It just means that you have given some interest over to another party that they can, for a right-of-way easement, that they can travel over ingress, egress over that easement. A prescriptive easement is not given by a grant, it's not necessarily implied by law, but it arises over the conduct, by the conduct of the party over 20 years. We have a lot of roads that the county maintains, historically, a lot, by prescriptive easement. The county's rights, and just remember that the county is not claiming an ownership right that we can do whatever on this land or on any other. It's simply, as a fiduciary, essentially, the county is maintaining this road for the traveling public. It's open for the public to use. We can't expand what's been maintained over 20 years. Can't decrease it either. So essentially it is, without a document, it is an easement grant, kind of implicit, an easement grant to, in this case, it would be to Oconee County, based on maintenance over 20 years for a defined section. Does that make sense? All right, so that's where, that last element is the question.
It's
that I
based
have.
on maintenance or usage, I guess.
Well, yeah, obviously the
Constructive
maintenance
usage or
and holding
maintenance.
it open to the public, to the traveling public, correct. And so that defined area is where I'm still stuck on, how far down does the county maintenance go?
Help me understand, how did the county, or my recollection is it actually was a state road way back when, before the state got rid of all their roads, a lot of their roads. How did the road originally get established? There wasn't any prescriptive easement. How does a road get established across the property owners there?
Just by use, really. And I don't know about, I've heard that it was a state road previously. I don't have hard evidence apart from what
Fine.
essentially would be testamentary evidence or testimony. But it just starts happening. When I was in Charleston, we had a case on James Island where we had to parse out different roads to establish contiguity for the town. It surprised me to find out some of the very major arteries were by prescriptive easement, and they dated back, 150 years.
Sure.
So at one point in time, not always known, the county in this case starts maintaining this road, holding it open to the public. That's contrary to the rights of the landowners for the surface below the road. But the county continues to do that for a period of 20 years uninterrupted, and then that prescriptive easement arises. So that conduct establishes it, so to speak. I know Mr. McDuff talked about a court adjudicating whether or not a prescriptive easement has arisen. It arises by the conduct of the parties, but it oftentimes is defined by court. And that, it may be where we're headed here, I don't know, but
Could be.
does that clarify things?
Okay. Folks have any questions?
Yeah,
Well, go ahead.
yeah, is on the prospective easement, that gives the city the right to maintain the road. What if there's a requirement, like in this case, or a request to change the road, to change the location of the road? Does that prospective easement give any power to the county to approve or disapprove that?
Yeah, so what the county has done over the course of that 20 years essentially defines what the county can do. So we can continue to maintain, let's just say the whole road, say Road A, we won't take it outside of Ellenburg. We established a prescriptive easement over the course of 20 years. We can continue to maintain that thoroughfare for the traveling public. Generally, the courts have interpreted, and the Attorney General has interpreted that it'll also include the ditches that are necessary as part of the maintenance. And you can even allow for, there's an AG opinion on this, for utilities to be placed within, outside the traveling surface too, because that's essentially the same thing as a normal easement would give. But as far as, we're just gonna change this, we're gonna move the road over, the county could not do that. In this case, I think it's salient that the county would have to really go through the abandonment procedure for that little portion, assuming that the portion that, like, I think that's right in front of Ms. Ratliff's shop, is left out of the new road configuration. That old road configuration would still be there, still have a prescriptive easement over it, and the county would have to abandon it through just a judicial proceeding.
What does right-of-way have to do with it? Right-of-way, the issue here is right-of-way?
Yes, sir.
You got I think it's an 18-foot paved road, then that's 18-foot on up to 32 feet total is a 50-foot right-of-way that we're talking about. What, is that a prescriptive right-of-way, or is that, what is that?
It is not. That's where with prescriptive easements, you'll find that the right-of-way contours or footprint of it is a lot more narrow. Generally, we're looking for a 50-foot or 66-foot right-of-way. Within that, you'll have a 20-foot paved or 25-foot paved surface. In the right-of-way area, you can do other things, utilities, you can expand the road later. Prescriptive easement doesn't give that, like on ditch to ditch is what it's often referred to. So you have a 20-foot paved surface, just a prescriptive easement. You may have a right-of-way total of 26 or 28 feet,
Okay,
based on the conduct of the parties over the 20 years.
I'm bothered about something. I've been through this package several times of what they gave us. I didn't find any permits. I didn't find anything from DHEC or from Duke or even from Oconee County giving them permission to do what they're doing. Should they not have gone through a permit process before they came to us?
I'm sorry, to do what they are doing, could you be more specific, ma'am?
Well, they're gonna move the road. Their intention is to abandon what's there and move the road over, which in fact would make the machine shop, boathouse, whatever it is, be landlocked. Is there not a permit process that they should have gone through before they got to us, where that would have been established?
I think that the time is probably well spent going through this step first. This is almost a preliminary matter. Are you going to have a variance so you can start that process? They're still going to be subject to, for our part, the road acceptance procedure. And there's a full litany of things that they have to do to have the roads accepted, built to certain specifications, obviously permitted, consistent with our subdivision regulations, and you'd have to have abandonment procedures for that area that's not used. So there's still a lot subsequent, speaking to what you're talking about, subsequent, but I don't fault them for doing this first. It makes sense.
I just, they're talking about getting very close to the Duke line, they're talking about abandoning a road. There was a lot of changes they were making in their plans and what I read here, that I felt like they should have had to get a permit and had DHEC approve moving dirt, piling up rock and the stuff that they've done. They should have had something from Oconee County stating that they had a permit to, do what they did.
And I can't speculate on all what they did or what you're referring to. As far as the road issue goes, there will be a lot more that's left to do if they get this variance. Like I say, still the road acceptance, the permitting process through that, the subdivision permitting process, and then the abandonment issue too.
Makes sense to get this decided before they go to all the effort of trying to get all the specific permits required. That's a big deal. I feel comfortable that we're going in the right process. Any other questions for Mr. Root? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have got the issue before us. We have the option here of a couple of things. We can go ahead and proceed to decide tonight, if we want, based on what we've heard. Although we have Mr.
We
Root, I
still
think.
don't know who owns the road and if we have the authority.
Just presenting what our options are.
Okay.
Just all I'm trying to do is present what our options are here. We can do that. We could say, one of the issues is, we have received additional, what I would call public comment from Mr. Ratliff, that big letter. We've accepted that. There may be that the applicant would like to have some time to present specifically what they want to do, what they're proposing to do. And we've had at least one request to Mr. Coley about further public comment. He told him, no, we can't have public comment because it's closed. So we have the option of deciding tonight, or we can table the issue and have to bring it up next time, or we can postpone the issue. Postpone this until such time as Mr. Coley gets information from the two parties that they're ready to talk. Mr. Root.
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to
Please do.
take too much time, but
Please do.
I was speaking with Mr. McDuff and Mr. Brandt earlier, the most vested parties in this. I don't think there's any question. They would like to postpone the hearing. It's different than table. Obviously, with table, you have to take it off the table in the very next meeting. Postpone, you could do it for the next meeting, or you could just attach a condition to it. Move to postpone it until the applicant asks for a new hearing, perhaps, which makes sense because, as I understand it, they're working out a potential compromise. They just still have some pieces to fall together, so a motion to postpone may be in order until the applicant requests a new hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from Mr. Root on that?
No, I would move that we postpone until they are ready to come back. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's give, Mr. Brad, you, please.
Sorry.
It's not very long, please.
We, Mr. McDuff and I, along with our clients, had a long meeting a couple of week or so ago. When you get old, it's kind of hard to put things in time frame. But we made progress. We are proceeding towards something that we can agree with. And with a little more time, we can get that done. As Mr. Root said, though, even if we agree, there's still some things, dominoes that have to fall to make it a reality. So if you grant the easement, for instance, we still have to comply with closing the old prescriptive easement and declaring, having a court hearing, may be a friendly suit, but having the court determine the underlying owners of the property. So we realize that, but we are working, I think parties are working in good faith and negotiating in earnest. And
Okay.
hopefully we can come back with something and tell you that at least as to us and the issues before you, that we have come to some kind of an agreement.
How could we find fault with that? That's what we asked for. Mr. McDuff, you have anything to say?
You know, I haven't prepared a long sermon for tonight, but
Please.
I'll keep my remarks
We'll
brief.
pass the plate and be adjourned.
Yeah, well, we don't do that tonight, we'll pass tonight. We'll do that Wednesday night. We have had discussions, and the reason why I think it's in the best interest of everybody to postpone rather than table is that some of this is going to depend upon other outside parties providing information to us, including engineers, from which we can take that. We don't know what the time frame on that's going to be. So you're faced with it coming up again in a month, and we may not have the information yet. I know the developer's pushing to get the information as quickly as possible, acting in good faith. But I think as long as we can, we just have it postponed, and then if need to, the developer can apply for, I think, 21-day notice, get it back on the agenda again.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
I'll move that we postpone, subject to their getting back and requesting it be put forward on the agenda.
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion, folks? Okay, let me just, as I understand it, that'll come back on the agenda at some point in time. At that time, do we have to, I want to have the opportunity for more public comment. If anyone else wants to say something, they can do it. Is there, do I have to make that as part of the postponement motion?
You can do it as a second motion, or you could revise the original motion to include
I'm willing
that.
to,
But
I'm
if
willing
we-
to amend the motion to allow for further discussion at the postponed hearing.
It's public comment.
Yeah,
At the
right.
next time we bring this up, we'll have public comment.
Right.
Second.
Mr. Chair, if we can also include a mechanism for the postponement to end, either by the developer or by both parties agreeing that they have either reached a resolution or reached an impasse where they will no longer be able to reach a resolution, but that there is some information that's given to us to put it back on, if there's a mechanism in this motion as well.
Okay, so as I read the motion, we're going to agree to postpone. It's going to be, we're going to, if we have another hearing, we will allow further public comment, and we would expect both sides, or at least one side, to come back to Mr. Coley with a statement that either you have reached agreement and you're ready to reach a resolution, or you haven't reached agreement and you have no more input. And I guess I would include in that a 6-month time frame. Get it done in 6 months, or
That should be sufficient.
that reasonable?
I think it's reasonable.
Oh, okay. Okay. All that said, is that good enough for a motion? Mr. Coley?
Yes, sir.
Is that good enough? You can get that? Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. It's unanimous. The issue is postponed. There may be a lot of people here that wanted to take part in this particular request. That's it for tonight. If you want to leave, you won't hurt our feelings. We've got several other items to talk about. Thank you very much for coming. You could leave promptly, though, because we've got other issues to talk. Okay, you guys all okay with all that?
I think that's the smart way.
Please be prompt and leave, folks. If you could leave, please, without conversation. Folks, please leave. Any conversations can take place outside. It's a nice night. Okay. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Okay. Variance application VA 21-012B, 27-foot variance from the 50-foot road right-of-way to allow for the new townhomes to be consistent with the existing townhomes. Residium LLC, Mr. Greg.
Are you skipping 12A?
What did I skip?
Side setback, there's A and B.
Item 7. I did. Pardon me. I'm in the wrong, I have the wrong, got too much red ink here.
Okay.
This is item 7. This will be not the one I just talked about. This will be the other, a different variance. We'll get to you in just a minute, sir.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you very much. And I'm very sorry for the excursion there. Variance application number VA 21-012A. Variance allowing the side setback for lot lines dividing attached single-family units to be reduced to 0 feet, thus allowing the construction of individually platted attached single-family units. Okay, those are both the same, from the same applicant. Is that- Okay, so let's start with this one. You've got about 5 minutes, if you would, please, to
Great.
state the case.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Greg Kersner. I'm the managing member of Residium LLC. And I thought, rather than kind of belabor, this project is an existing project that I'm looking to try and finish out as it was originally designed. I thought if I would just respond or answer essentially the 4 questions in my 5 minutes, I'd appreciate doing that, and then I'll answer any other. As to question 1, applicant wishes to complete the development of an individually platted for-sale, single-family attached housing project at the landing at Clemson Marina. It is an existing community that was previously approved and permitted by the county in 2005 for a total of 24 attached for-sale housing units composing 6 buildings of 4 units each. With regard to the side setback requirements, the current code does not accommodate individually platted attached single-family units for sale product due to the 5-foot side setback requirement for single-family residential lots in the control-free district. The applicant requests the variance allowing the side setback for lot lines dividing attached single-family house units to be reduced to 0 feet, thus allowing the construction of individually platted attached single-family units. All other setbacks, including side setbacks on the end buildings, will meet Oconee County Code. Regarding the private road right-of-way requirements, Breakwater Lane is a private road. It only services this community. The current code requires a 50-foot right-of-way, which was not in place at the time that this development was originally built, designed, and permitted. The existing roadway, roadbed, and attached houses and foundations are already in place for one of the buildings, and 2 others have foundation and footings. And the project's design and placements require the applicant to seek the variance for relief by reducing the private road right-of-way to 23 feet. The units remaining to be built can then be built and conform with the front setback requirements of the code. This will also allow for the new units to be consistent with the existing lots. That was originally the plan, and will allow for septic tanks for the units to be located in the front yards as also originally planned. Breakwater Lane is currently and will continue to be a private road. It's maintained by the community's HOA, which it has been for the last 16 years. There exists a 20-foot easement for utilities already in place and recorded, and both the paved portion of Breakwater Lane as well as the roadbed portion are in place. Applicant will also add a second ingress point on Breakwater Lane to Shiloh Road to improve traffic flow and address fire safety and solid waste concerns. As to question 2, the circumstances requiring the applicant's variance for the side yard setback are that there's an incompatibility between the existing single-family zoning ordinance and the county ordinance requirements in place when the development is originally approved and permitted and constructed. So the applicant desires to complete the development in the fashion consistent with the existing individually platted for sale units and to protect the integrity and the investment of the current homeowners in that community. Question 3, regarding the 5-yard side setback on all single-family residences, this requirement prevents the development of attached single-family for sale units other than rental. The requirement for a 50-foot right-of-way for a private road serving the community prevents the applicant from completing the development as it was designed and its ability to construct the housing units that would be consistent with the homes already in the community. As to question 4, the proposed variances will not be a detriment or harm the character of the district. In fact, by granting this relief, you will allow this applicant to enhance the adjacent uses and the character of the district by allowing us to complete this project, which has already been in existence for 16 years. The property is near and or adjacent to existing multifamily housing units as well as planned single-family attached and detached housing projects the board just recently approved in November for side yard setback. The applicant's request for relief will allow us to reinvigorate this development by preserving the existing homeowners' property values, fully funding and strengthening the Community Homeowners Association, and by adding additional valuable homeownership opportunities to the district. And with that, thank you for your attention, and I'll answer any questions.
Folks have any questions for the developer? Okay, now we'll open the meeting for any comments on this request. If you could have a seat, please, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. You see, I have a sign-up list here for the townhomes. Mr. Moss?
Yes, sir.
You're Mr. Gary Moss, okay.
Yes, I am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. I think we understand a lot more from that than we did when we got here, so some of the stuff we're gonna say okay with. The other parts, we'd like to have an explanation of. For instance, the side-to-side variance from whatever to 0, no problem. They attach, we understand it, just like the units are already there. The thing that bothers us or we want to know about is the side facing Shiloh Road. We live on Shiloh Road across the road. Now, the gentleman mentioned some of the housing, the attached single-family units that we live in. We're off the road some 700 feet that we wind down in there toward Lake Hartwell. The concern is, what is it going to look like when they back this thing up? And I'm assuming they're backing up 27 feet from where they normally would be, based on the road right-of-way. So you got a 50-foot road right-of-way for Shiloh Road, and then there's a 50-foot setback normally, and they're asking for a reduction of that setback from the road right-of-way. Is that the case, or?
Is that the only concern you have?
Yes, that's the concern. is
Concern
the
where it's going to be in
proximity-
relation to Shiloh Road and to the
proximity
local
and-
road that they have.
And how they're going to maintain that area. The gentleman did mention enhancing the situation for us across the road. I'd kind of like to know how that's going to be done. And, is there some way to make sure that what is said is actually done? So, does that make any sense?
Sure.
Because, that will affect our property values if we're looking at the back.
Understand, that's fair, I understand.
Condominiums that are 27 feet closer to Shiloh Road.
Okay,
Okay?
sure.
Okay? That's it.
I've lost my, here we are. Any other comments on this particular request? Yes, sir. Could you state your name, please?
Good evening.
Could you state your name, please,
My
sir?
name is Craig Schweisinger, that's Schweissinger. I'm at 250 Morningside Heights Drive, Seneca, South Carolina. I am the owner of record across the creek from this project. By its nature, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. My objection tonight is that building number 1 is done, finished, complete, and recorded. This is not a continuation of building number 1, from the legal aspect. So anything you do is relating to what he is building at this point on. And it doesn't necessarily have to conspire with what he has on building number 1, because building number 1, that project, I should say, is completed. It's done. And that's the only point I wanted to make. Thank you very much.
What is your concern, sir?
My primary concern is, I want to make sure that the HOA that's in effect on building number 1 is going to be in effect on buildings, on the balance of the buildings. These are 2-car garages with a very small driveway. Once a student or somebody comes in and converts a bedroom to a garage, that takes away 1 car. If they take a garage and they make it 2 bedrooms, that takes away 2 cars. There's no exterior parking allocated for this project. Private road, I think we don't have much control over it. So if the HOA is going to be in effect for both buildings 1 and the balance of the building, it's the owner's requirement to maintain that tenants don't build a bedroom in the garage, that they don't park cars on lots in the project, and that everybody plays by the same rules. That would be my only objection.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you much.
Any other comments? Okay, I have a couple of emails here. This is from a Tim and Tanya Liddy. They live on Breakwater Lane. I'm writing this letter in support of the applicant's application for variances to grant relief for a side yard setback and road right-of-way. Granting these variances will allow the applicant to complete our community as originally planned and designed, with homes that will be similar and consistent with the size, design, and look of my property and the other property owners. Further, granting these variances will help preserve the property values of the community. I support this application and hope the Board of Zoning Appeals will favorably consider it. And this then is from, I think it's Robert Holmes, saying he's president of the HOA, and Nancy Holmes. They live on Breakwater Lane. I'm writing this letter in support of the applicant's application for variances to grant relief for side yard and setback and road right-of-way. And it really is the same letter as from the Liddies. So I have 2 letters that support this. Okay, any other comments from anybody?
Can you
Okay.
give them a rebuttal?
Yes. So, Mr. is it Kersner?
Kersner, yes.
Kersner, yes. Mr. Kersner, would you please come up and respond to the concerns you've heard?
Yes, all right, so with regard to the first gentleman, I forgot your name. Yes, sir. His comments. We're not pushing it back, we're asking for the variance so we don't have to push it back closer to the street, if that makes sense. Because when the project was originally developed, it wasn't, we didn't know that we needed a right-of-way because that wasn't a thing then. So where the building was as designed wouldn't have to move if they grant the variance for the right-of-way. But that being said, I would agree with you as these attached houses, and that's what they essentially are, more than townhomes. These are 40-foot wide lots. So 40-foot wide lots are more of a house that has a common wall than it is a townhome, if you think about it from your vision of what a townhome looks like. But it's going to be primarily square footage on the first floor and then some square footage on the second. So its profile from the street will be relatively low. But we are going to do landscaping. There is already monument style with picket or whatever the rail fences that are there. And in addition, since Shiloh is a county road, we have to accommodate for a 10-foot setback in the back as well as in the front. So it's not a 5-yard back setback, it's a 10-foot setback. So it will sit further back, if that makes sense, from Shiloh, correct?
Where is it in relationship to the current?
Well,
fence?
guys, you've got to talk to us. We can't have a conversation between folks.
Right.
Sorry, that's, so I understand, what you're asking for is a relief on the setback requirements from, is it Bridgewater Lane?
Well, not setback, I'm asking for the side setback, obviously, yes.
Yes.
But for a reduction of right-of-way for a private road.
Right of way for a right, so you're actually want to put your houses, your development, closer to the road than would currently be allowed. It has nothing to do with Shiloh Road, it has to do with your road.
Breakwater
in
Lane,
your
that's
development.
correct.
Breakwater Road
Yes.
in your development.
Yes.
Does that kind of answer your question,
Well,
sir?
it's a private road, why does he need you to do anything for him?
Well, it's still a road within the county. It's still regulated by the county.
You don't maintain it. So it's in effect a driveway for 5 units. No?
Not Shiloh
Would
Road,
like to open back up for additional public comment.
oh, Breakwater, but he's,
Okay, yeah.
But
Shiloh Road is the county road, Breakwater's not.
But Breakwater's private.
Yeah.
Question
It
is,
still has to fall.
it has to meet
Private roads are
standards,
still
county
subject to
standards.
standard
County
code.
Right, we're
A
seeing.
private road has to meet a county
There's
standard.
a definition of what a private road is with standards that go along with it.
Okay.
And then with regard to the second gentleman's comment, one of the things that we also recognize is that there's a limit of existing parking, given the length of driveways as well. This is a for sale product, and the HOA there's no separate HOA for what goes on. The entire project is covered under the HOA, including the 2 single-family lots on Landings Way. They're all covered under the same HOA. So there won't be another HOA that would have different covenants, restrictions, or requirements than the existing one that's been in place. So that should make him comfortable there. But one of the other things is that we do have common area here that is at this point just grass. But it is our intention as we complete the development to provide guest parking there as well as potentially, and I can say that for certain because that is a common area which we would go ahead and add guest parking for. But there's also a lot that's along Shiloh Road that is an individually platted lot that may end up being utilized for common area just because of it's a fairly narrow lot that's probably not likely or beneficially built on. So we are going to address concerns about parking because the current homeowners do have those concerns as well, and we want the community to be one where people more, it's not just a husband and wife or whatever the nuclear family is. You're going to have people over, football games, things like that. So we don't want parking to be a concern. So providing guest parking is part of what we're going to be doing in the final development, in addition to adding that other access point. So we want to improve it. So I think those are the 2 questions that were raised, and I'll take any others.
As far as your plan is concerned here, you're basically just completing the envelope of what was,
Yes.
so this particular house will be identical, or complex of 4 dwellings will be identical to the 4 dwellings right adjacent to it, is that, as
That
I
is correct.
understand?
Yeah.
And the only difference is that you're looking, because you haven't got enough clearance with the setback from the road under the current ordinances, that you're asking for relief on that, as well as the relief on the 0 clearance, so you can abut it to the next, to the building that's already there.
Yeah, we're just asking to try and complete the development. of
Other
this-
than that, it's gonna look exactly like all of the other buildings that are there, right?
It sounds like the biggest concern of the homeowners in the area is parking. Can you give us some idea as to how many additional parking spots you might be able to provide to them in this common lot?
What I would say is it will depend on if we're able to use that lot, which would be Lot 10. That's, I don't know whether you have a copy of that or not, but whether we're able to use that for any kind of parking or not, given its width. But in the common area, as you come in off of Landings and turn on to Breakwater, there's a fair amount. I don't know what the acreage is, but it's reasonable enough to provide parking. I don't want to speculate because I haven't really done the math, but it would be as many parking spaces as we can make look attractive and amenable. And then there's also some plan for something like a pavilion or other for a common area. but that would be beneficial, I think, for the community as well. So I don't want to speculate on a number of parking spaces, but it would be, maybe 10 or more.
How wide is Breakwater Lane?
23 feet.
23 feet.
Yes, sir.
So you probably, people may use a visitor's lot and people may just park on Breakwater Lane.
They can, and people have, or, on the side of the road or whatever.
To me, the issue would be if people are having to go out and park on Shiloh Road. I mean, that's not going to be
No,
that's not going to be a winner.
No, I don't think so.
If you look at the way the thing is laid out, if you have a car parked in the front of your house in there, it basically comes out almost to the street.
Well, mostly, hopefully, people will park in their garages, and then if they've got multiple cars, they do what they do, which is they shift cars around and things like that. But, there are football games around here, and people like to come and have places to stay on a temporary basis. So that's why adding the guest parking is something that we're looking at trying to do, provide that extra for the community.
So what you're saying is the variance is gonna relieve the need of the concern of Shiloh Road, correct?
Well, there's really no impact.
You're coming this way away from Shiloh, right? Is that correct?
Well,
I'm looking.
it's beyond J.P. Stevens. It's directly, the entrance to this community is directly across from the Clemson Marina, and the other way is a dead end. We've met with the DOT about adding that second ingress curb cut, and they've given us preliminary thumbs up that they're.
But I guess what I'm saying is the variance is gonna bring you closer into to the breakwater.
The variance will allow us to
Breakwater
put the
Lane and not
buildings.
toward Shiloh. It brings it
Correct,
away
right.
from
We would
Shiloh.
not be pushing the
Right,
building.
which was a concern there,
Right.
and then the HOA has been addressed, it's the same HOA.
Yes.
Okay, and so you're just asking that we, and you started this project, the others, building number one was built under the original permitting,
Correct.
which didn't have the
Yeah.
variance at that time.
Right.
Or didn't have the restrictions at that time.
Yeah.
As I look at this drawing, if you don't get the 27-foot variance, you can't build the buildings.
No.
That's correct.
You'll be
That's-
building on Shiloh Lane, on Shiloh Road.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you got to have the variances to finish your project.
correct.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
What I'm wondering is, if we do approve this, whether we should have a contingency about parking, because it seems like that's a big thing, then maybe to state that you need at least 7 additional parking spaces or something like that to give encouragement to.
Authority to
Make
do
that
that,
happen.
is it?
I don't think that's covered under what we're allowed to
Yeah,
do.
that's not any of our business.
That's up to
I don't know that we can require that. I don't-
What I can tell you is that that's important to me, and it's important to the, and I've met with the HOA board, and I've talked to the homeowners, and that is obviously, we're going to want to sell these properties, and there's going to be, as you guys know, a lot of competition in the area over the next couple of years. So for us to be able to provide a product that is going to be different and, in my opinion, better than what might else be out there, we want to make sure that the amenities are sufficient for those people who are going to put down their hard-earned cash and live there. So we know parking's a concern, and that's why we want to add those parking spaces. And we're going to do that simply because it's already in our budget. We're ready to go.
And I think that issue really is for the HOA to
Yes.
self-govern.
Yeah.
We don't need to self-govern that, or to govern that from the outside.
I think we just need to determine whether what he's asking is reasonable for the lay of the land.
Well, it's necessary. He isn't going to be able to finish the project if he doesn't. Thank you, sir.
Well, I think he's addressed all the concerns that have been brought to us.
Sounds to me like
You
Like
might
my-
ask
like
if
the-
anybody else has any questions. You might ask if anybody else wants to comment or.
Well, we've already closed comment. We allowed a little bit of comment in there, but we've closed comment. We have no other opportunity for comment.
Now it's time to vote.
It's time, okay, time to consider this. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Okay, we have,
One point of order that you made, may I address it?
sir, we're done with public comments.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have two variances here, guys, one for the side setback and one for the front setback. First one is the side setback. Variance application number VA 21-012A. Variance allowing the side setback for lot lines dividing attached single-family units to be reduced to 0 feet, thus allowing the construction of individually platted attached single-family units. Okay, our first question to answer, just for your information, we have 4 questions we need to answer to satisfy ourselves that whether or not this variance is appropriate to approve, and then we have a final vote to approve the variance or not. So, first question. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to a particular piece of property. Do I have a motion
So moved.
in the affirmative, please?
Yeah, so moved.
A second? Second. Okay, any discussion?
Well, I think he's already showed us that.
No, I think it's been covered.
I think it's been
Right.
covered.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Can I have a motion, please, in the affirmative?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we've covered it.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. It's unanimous. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to a particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
And as indicated, they really can't do the project without.
Can't do the project, and it's based on previous applications.
Yeah.
So, okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. It's unanimous. The authorization of variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. It's unanimous. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, the request is approved. That is on the,
It's on the setback.
that's just on the setback. That's on the side setbacks. Variance application VA 21-012B, 27-foot variance from the 50-foot road right-of-way to allow for the new townhomes to be consistent with the existing townhomes. Residium LLC, Greg Kurtzner is requesting these variances. TMS number 257-00-02-008, an unaddressed parcel with the closest address of 304 Breakwater Lane, Seneca, South Carolina, 29678. Excuse me. Okay, we'll go through the four questions. There are now we're talking about the 50-foot road right-of-way. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. A motion in the affirmative?
So moved.
Any discussion? We've covered it all?
I think we've
Okay.
covered it
All
all.
those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. It's unanimous. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. I have a motion in the affirmative.
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. It's unanimous. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. I have a motion in the affirmative, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The authorization of variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, carries unanimously. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Approved unanimously. Okay, both of those are approved. Mr. Coley will get you the proper documentation when the time comes. Okay. Variance app, this is item number 8. Variance application number VA 21-013. Joe and Lynn Arve are requesting a 4.9-foot variance from the 25-foot required setback from the right-of-way to permit an existing foundation for a home. TMS number 149-04-01-050, with an address of 851 Little Bay Lane, Seneca, South Carolina, 29672. Okay, are you Lynn Arve?
Yes,
Yes, please.
and I think there's a separate one that shows the exact variance, but what I am asking for is a variance from this setback requirement. It involves a portion, it's that one, it's just a little bit off. It's, the corner of the garage is sitting within the setback variance, it's an existing foundation. The corner, it is along Baymont Point, this is in a Timber Bay, which is private roads, but it's in the side road to the house, it is a, road of the subdivision. And so that drawing shows more of the piece of it, but that's where the 4.9 comes in, it's the corner piece of the garage that comes in there on the road that goes toward the Baymont Point area. And, basically asking for that so we can maintain the design of the home as it was designed. It is, in order to not modify, because my concern of any kind of modification is gonna impact the design and the appearance of the home, and in that subdivision of that area. So I am, able to keep the integrity of the home as designed, to ask for that variance there instead of having to redesign or other options on the property.
Okay, I understand this house is, you've already got the foundation in,
Yes,
so the foundation's there.
yes, sir.
How did that happen?
It's a great question, and basically it was an error in the point of when it was installed by the foundation contractor, it was off base. And it is in, there's a piece on the other side that's not, but it is in, and that piece is there, and it was just an error on this point of the contractor, and my attempt to fix it at, minimal design and change is to ask for the variance in this situation.
So you got the foundation in place, you'd have to take the foundation out and do something
Correct. Yeah.
rather expensive to
Right.
to fix.
Either, take it completely out, any kind of modification, again, would become at a major expense as well.
Okay, they don't have any questions? Trying to see if I've got any comments.
So obviously, it's a tough situation because it's there already, but at the same time, if other people build a foundation and realize afterwards it's within the setbacks, do you just say that tough, or is there other ramification? I don't know.
This was unintentional, but
You have to ask
it's,
for a variance.
They come ask for a variance.
Right, I understand that part.
yeah, I hate that I'm the one that's here asking for it, but that is what it happened, and absolutely.
Do we have any other questions for Ms. Arve? Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may have a seat. Are there anyone in the audience that wants to have a comment on this particular application? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Don Bradford, and I'm the president of Timber Bay Property Owners Association. And in order to be approved to build, you must submit to an architect committee review. And we reviewed it and we approved it, but where the house sits is not where we approved it. And in our covenants and restrictions, it does state that building locations must meet local building codes and setback requirements. Every home in there meets these requirements except for this foundation that's there. We met with her, with Lynn, at the board meeting, and we discussed alternate solutions to it other than granting the variance. And she said she didn't have any at that time. So the board took a vote on it after that, and we would request not to approve the variance and to come up with an alternate solution that our architect committee would review. That's all I got to say.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Any
Thank you, sir.
questions?
Yeah, anyone have any questions, gentlemen?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Excuse me, before you leave,
Sir?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir? We do have a question.
there's a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Do you have anything showing where you approved it to be?
Do I have any, what, I'm sorry, I got just one of my hearing aids.
Okay. Do you have any drawings or anything that shows us where you approved it to
Yes,
be?
yes. I do, and actually, I think it's in the listing. There it is. That is where we approved it to be,
Okay.
and this is her drawing that shows where it's actually at.
Mr. Coley, we got those on here?
Like the lock.
Yeah, I've got it
lock
up on
eye.
your
He's got them up there.
That's the submittal. It should be on your screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause I didn't see that originally, okay.
That's the original submittal.
Yes.
And then her submittal of the survey after the foundation was poured.
Yeah, that's what was submitted to us to approve the building, and that's what we
The
approved.
second page here is where it
Okay.
actually ended up.
Show me
This is what it actually
Here,
ended up.
where-
Here's that corner.
where she should have built.
Yes, that's where she should have had it.
Right here.
Okay, we're talking about that corner. It's actually on Baymont Point. It's not the address road, Little Bay Lane. It's on the corner, it's corner road.
Going down the side of that. I have,
You wanna look at the other one? So it's this corner, and they're shown in different directions, so you have
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, there's a contour line or something missing because I'm not getting the same, right,
this 850 line is where it was supposed to be the offset from the road edge. It was 27 foot and 1 inch.
okay?
The actual as-built has this corner, same corner, this is that 850 line. So it's over the 850 line, and the offset to the road is 20.1
And everybody else in the
feet.
subdivision built where they're supposed to build?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we're setting precedent to
Yes,
allow this.
yes, you are.
Well,
Thank you.
well, excuse me, sir. I got one question. What would the homeowners association do if we were to approve this?
That I don't know, sir. We're in contact with an attorney, and we're waiting to hear what happened here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard, we've heard of the homeowner association. Ms. Arve, do you have any further comments based on what the homeowners association has said?
I think I've pretty much shared, and I'll just address that you said I didn't have didn't have any changes. I haven't explored those due to the cost.
Please talk just to us.
Yes, sir. So I haven't explored those due to cost because that would involve more drawings, but I have had discussions around what, changing things would be. That would be the only thing I would add to that. When he was saying I didn't have options, I didn't have distinct options that I said. I've talked about change of the garage, change of placement, things like that. That's all I wanted to add, but I have nothing outside of that.
So again, how did this happen?
It was an error on the part of when it was installed with the foundation contractor of where it was placed and put in on the property. That's,
Okay, so is the garage floor poured?
no,
Okay, so we're talking just the
it's
wall?
the foundation pieces of it, yeah. There's no floor, no floors are poured anywhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's footers and the foundation that you built?
Because it has a basement, so you've got those pieces, and then you have the footer piece.
Okay, is the basement part of what you're encroaching?
No, the main house is not involved. It is the garage. It is the corner of the garage that's there. Because that is the side. You do enter from the front, I heard you say that, from Little Bay Lane, and you come down and go into a side entry into the garage from the front into, it's the corner of the garage that's involved.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the meeting for comment. Staff, any point of view?
The only thing we had was there was a valid application. There's an encroachment into the setback, and it's in the board's purview to discuss and decide.
Okay.
I can see two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is it's in violation, and there's no forgiveness for the violation that happened, and it's out of our hands to deal with that. But as far as if this wasn't done yet and they did the architectural drawing and and they asked for a variance from the 25 feet, we probably would have approved it if it really was necessary for them to do. But the fact that they already built it and now they're asking for forgiveness, I don't see that basis for granting a variance. That's my opinion.
The other thing that troubles me on this is typically when you lay out a house ready to build, you have a survey done to make sure that all of your posts and everything is inside the setbacks. So somebody skipped a step.
Right.
Somebody screwed up.
And,
Sounds like she's saying it's the foundation contractor who screwed up.
well, be it the foundation contractor, the builder, whoever, somebody didn't do the stake survey. They saved that $100. So now it's time to pay the piper. And I feel like if everybody else in the community is staying within the guidelines, then she needs to come up with a different cure.
I think this is a development that's just getting started too, and there are very, very few houses in the development in comparison to the amount of land that's available. So all of a sudden, you're setting a very dangerous precedent and making it difficult too for the homeowners association that's trying to maintain a certain characteristic to the entire community. I think it's.
Yeah, I guess if we were to approve it, the homeowners association would still have grounds for action based on their homeowners' covenants, and they could take legal action and try and enforce their covenants. That's a big deal. And I'm not sure why we would force that on a homeowners association to do that.
And it's an expensive thing for them also, for the other property owners.
It's less than 5 feet.
It's less than 5 feet, but it's the integrity of the whole subdivision.
Yeah.
If everybody goes over by 5 feet, then what's the rules for?
There's no.
I mean,
Yep.
I try to see gray, but in this case, it's just black and white, right or wrong. And she's in the wrong because she didn't do what the guidelines said she's supposed to.
I think I'd be more inclined to go along if the homeowners association came and spoke in favor of it and said that they felt that it wouldn't hurt the community and that they were in favor of it. I could go along with it, but without that, I can't go along with it.
Okay, there's discussion about only 4.9 feet.
You know, they have a saw that'll just cut it right off, and they can move it right in there. It might not be as pretty, but,
Yeah, I think
They could adjust that, one wall in that garage could probably be adjusted, and if the concrete contractor made the mistake, then he should be held liable for it. Let him pony up with the money.
I disagree with that.
I think she's got, you wouldn't disagree?
Yeah, she's got good.
I would not
would not-
disagree with that,
I-
but somebody, whoever screwed up needs to.
It seems to me she's got action that she can take against the contractor.
And we're a good step to help her do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to decide, guys?
Yep.
Okay. Excuse me. Question A. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to a particular piece of property. Could I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second. Any discussion?
No discussion.
I guess the property means including the foundation, because there's nothing unique about the property itself.
No, it could have fit on the property. I mean,
Right.
we've seen cases where the property is a big issue, it's a big problem.
Right.
As I recall, the property does fall off, but they had a plat.
So in this case,
They had
we're
a-
talking
Had it
about,
put in the proper place.
Put in the
it
proper
would-
place, had all the right dimensions and everything, so I don't,
so I would argue that the property isn't an issue, it isn't unique, it's just a standard piece of
yeah.
property.
I've asked for it in the affirmative, we can vote, we don't have to vote for it. No one has to vote for the
Okay.
affirmative. It can fail.
Okay.
That's the only,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I'll do it any way you want, guys, but
No, the way you're doing it's
I don't
fine.
want to presume one way or the other, just we talk about in the affirmative.
I
Okay,
think we're better if we have a standard way of doing it.
okay, so we have a motion in the affirmative. All those in favor of
Granting the,
this question, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have one aye. All those opposed? We have 4 opposed. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Could I have a
No,
motion in the
they
affirm,
don't.
could I have a motion in the affirmative, please? Is
so moved in the affirmative.
there a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
It's not a problem for anybody else. They're all building on the lots inside the setbacks that put forth in the subdivision. So,
Right.
again, you know, I can't vote yes on your affirmative.
Not asking you to. Okay, any other discussion? Okay. We have a motion in the affirmative. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. All those opposed, please raise your hand, say aye. Okay, 0, 4, 5 opposed. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Have a motion, please.
So moved in the affirmative.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think they had a reasonable, a reasonable shot at putting it in correctly, and it wasn't done.
Right.
And the property can be, the property can be utilized if they just put the
Sure.
house in the right place.
Sure.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of this affirmative motion, please raise your hand and say aye. There are no ayes. All opposed? Raise your hand. 5 opposed. Authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. We have a motion in the affirmative,
So
please.
moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I guess here's where the precedents that we may establish for the neighborhood might be an issue for the common good.
Well, to me, it's the HOA has said,
Right.
hey, for the common good, we're against this. They're representing the common good.
Right.
I've said this before, and I hope I'm on firm ground. We really don't set precedent. You know, we don't go back and look at what we've done before and analyze, oh, did we say this before? And it sets a precedent. We don't set precedents here. It would set a kind of a precedent for the HOA. But it's not us. It's not a precedent for
Right.
us.
Right.
But
Good to give other
but
people a
if
chance to
the,
go
like we
in.
said, if the HOA had come in and said, we don't care,
Yeah.
and a neighbor had come in and say, hey, you know, it's gonna be nice, don't worry about it, that'd be one thing, but we've got, okay, so, enough said. Could I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved in the
Oh,
affirmative.
we've already had that,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. Call the question and vote. All those in raise your hand, all those in favor of the, this particular question? I see 0. All those opposed? Raise your hand. 5 opposed. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be denied?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Okay. Just for information, it only takes a negative, one of those 4 questions to fail. We go through them all just for completeness, but one question fails, then the whole question is going to fail. So, we've got a motion and a second. Are there any discussion or any conditions we want to put on this? I think there's nothing to put on. So, all those in favor of this, that the variance be denied, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's 4. All those opposed to it being denied? Okay, so it's 4-1. Okay, sorry, ma'am, it's denied. Excuse me, got a ways to go here. Item 9. Variance application number VA 21-014. Dennis and Michelle Hill are requesting a 1.86 variance from the 25-foot required setback from the right-of-way to permit an existing porch for a home. TMS number 162-05-01-057 with an address of 419 Peninsula Road, West Union, South Carolina, 29696. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Hill, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hill? Is it Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Hey, just forgive me, this is my first time doing any of this.
Quite all right,
Bear
it's not a
with me,
problem.
Okay.
Do you think?
So, well, I'm assuming that you've all read the report and everything that we submitted, the application we submitted, so I don't really know that I need to go over all that again. Other than just to say that, in laying out the house, we did have it staked out. The surveyor did come out and stake it out. I think the grade pin on that side got knocked out when they graded and dug out. We did rotate the house just slightly so my wife could have a better view of the lake. This is her retirement house. So, and in doing that, there's a 13-foot offset from the corner of the garage, which is right at the setback line, to that corner of the front porch. And we just let that get away from us. So we just missed it. We messed up. That's all I can say. And, we're just asking for a little grace and forgiveness.
Okay.
Now, this home is complete,
It's under
foundation-
construction right now.
As I saw it, it's past foundation. It's
framed.
It's all framed in. It's enclosed on the outside. I guess it's roofed.
Yes, sir.
So it's further along than the previous variance request,
Yes,
not
sir.
just foundation.
This is just a porch.
This is
It's
just a
just a
porch.
front porch.
Is the front porch all framed in and also? Completed?
The roof is out over it,
No, the porch is not finished.
it's concrete floor, all that's done. Like I said, the roof is out over it and all, so
So it's installed?
basically, yes. Except
How
for,
did you discover
except for
that-
setting the corner post.
How did you discover that you're 1.86 feet?
I think Vivian discovered it.
It was a complaint.
Think a little, there was a complaint.
So,
From a neighbor or? Okay. So do you have anything else you want to say okay, please have a seat. Are there any comments from the audience? I don't think we had anyone sign up for this one. This one, no sign up. Okay, I have one email. This is from an Aaron Fisher. Hello, I am writing about the variance request for the address of 419 Peninsula Road, West Union, South Carolina, 29696. My husband and I own the lot next to Dennis and Michelle Hill. I'm writing in support of their variance. Unfortunately, I cannot attend the public hearing as we live in Georgia because our house is not built yet in South Carolina. I believe they should be granted this variance. They're asking for less than 2 feet. Honestly, no one walking down the street would even know that they are off by such a small amount if the notice of public hearing was not posted. I have known Dennis and Michelle since we bought our lot in 2018. I know they have tried to make sure all the requirements were met in building their house. To not grant this variance would cost them thousands of dollars, which is not necessary. Please feel free to ask me any questions. Okay, so we have a supporting, anyone else have anything to say? Okay, I'm going to close comments now. Let me just close comments now. Okay, discussion.
Well, we just dealt with somebody who had a foundation that infringed on the setback, but in this case, it's such a small amount that it is minuscule. So to me, the amount of the setback would favor approving it, in my view,
We
because it's such
also
a
don't
small
have
setback.
anybody from the HOA
Nobody,
saying they need
True.
to toe the line and be in guidelines.
And the next door neighbor supporting of it?
Right.
You've got the next door neighbor supporting, and as you drive down that road, there are lots of houses up pretty close. I mean, I'm not saying they're within the setback, but it's not like all the rest of the houses are all set back. Some are, but some are not. They're up close to the road, and I honestly don't see where it would be a detriment to the community,
Right.
unless someone came up and said it would be. We haven't heard that.
Let's ask the questions then, good.
You ready to go?
Yeah, let's get the questions going.
Okay. Gotta find my cheat sheet here. Okay. One thing we didn't have here, staff have any comments on this? Before we proceed, okay. Please don't let me leave you out in the future, just raise your hand and say. Okay, question number one. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Have a motion in the affirmative.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
And again, the question is what's property, including the house? Yeah, it's unique because they built a foot into the setback, but there's nothing unique about the property. So is property included in the house?
I think the situation.
The situation.
The situation.
Property, yeah.
The situation as presented to us. The house, the property and everything.
Okay.
So any other discussion? Okay. We have a motion in the affirmative. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Aye. 5 in favor, none opposed. Are there any opposed? Have no opposed because we have 5 in favor. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. You have a motion, please.
So moved.
In the affirmative.
Affirmative.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Well, we don't know if anyone else is screwed up.
Or if they haven't come clean yet.
So, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Didn't see it all. Okay. Approved 5-0. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property.
So moved in the affirmative.
For a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
You would definitely have a big bearing to the fact that the walls are up already.
Yeah, if you look at the design of the house, he'd have to do something rather drastic to.
Mom wouldn't be happy.
No, I will not be happy. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Okay, we have 5 in favor, none opposed. The authorization of variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance.
So moved in the affirmative.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Y'all feel comfortable with what we're doing?
Yeah, we beat
Okay.
this one to death.
Yep.
All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. 5 in favor, none opposed. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be approved?
So moved in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Approved 5-0. Okay, variance is approved. You'll get documentation from Mr.
Tell how
Golan.
much she owes you steak dinner.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Tell your wife he owes you a steak dinner. Okay. Special exception application SC 21-005, Pandacon LLC. Ben Collins is requesting a special exception for a rental cabin project in the Lake Overlay District. TMS number 209-00-01-051, with an address of 128 Tuscany Lane, Seneca, South Carolina, 29672. Is Mr. Collins here? Mr. Collins? Okay.
May we pass you a few items that are supplementary to our request?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I guess the only comment about this would be, we sure would like to get this ahead of time. I don't know how we're supposed to absorb all this as part of the meeting.
I understand.
Just a comment, we'll see how it goes here,
Yeah.
but
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce myself real quick. My name is Ben Collins, and I'm here with Mr. Clay Shealy, and I'm residential builder and general contractor. And Clay is here representing the Lake Kiwi Marina. And just a quick little bit, we grew up here, we're from here. We still own property and recreate here, and I went to school here. I mean, it's neat being back in the building, but we have both been just deeply connected to the people and the land and the water of Oconee County. So I'm pleased to introduce this request to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special exception. And you'll see the package that you have that we've already submitted electronically, and just a few items here that, including my notes for how we're meeting the 4 items that are required for the special exceptions, or our presentation and arguments for that. But I'd like to start off quickly before I get to the 4 items by saying that the cabins that we're proposing to build are residential cabins. They're single-family dwellings, and they're built like any other home. They're just like you would expect to see any other lakefront cabin. When we applied for these, the staff told us that because it was a commercial use, that it required a special exception. And we appreciate staff, and we are happy to work with them. But we wanted to address this one point here, that because these are essentially single-family dwellings that are rented, we're not sure why they count as a commercial use. Oconee County currently, collects taxes on 678 very similar homes, that are single-family homes that are rented short-term or seasonally. And they collect $25 million, they tax over $25 million in revenue from those homes annually. And so it's a very accepted thing to do in Oconee County. And really everywhere. But the fact that any of those homes that Oconee already acknowledges and collects taxes on, they're not commercial just because they're rented. And I would just like to kind of toss that out and ask, why these are commercial, just because they're rented. And that, just something for you to think about as we proceed through this. But our requirement for the special exception was that we prove 4 items, and so we're going to address those in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, and it may not be the way we would initially lay out our argument for it, but to keep it simple and to keep it in order for the board, that's the way we're going to address it. And so there may be just a little bit of overlap on some of the items. And if you'll please bear with us on those items. Number 1, the addition of the cabins to the Lake Kiwi Marina facilities, we believe is consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and the Lake Overlay District. We would like for you to please consider the following excerpts from Oconee County's ordinances and comprehensive plan. Number 1, the existing and the future land use map. And you'll see in what I just gave you is a copy of the future land use map. The current land use map, shows this as being a commercial area, a commercial use. The future land use map shows it as being a residential use. So we believe adding residential units there is consistent with the direction of the comprehensive plan and the future land use direction for Oconee County. Next, in Chapter 11, still in the future land use, Section C, an objective is laid out, Objective 11.1.6, which is expand and promote opportunities for recreation and access to natural resources and green spaces. We believe this project is in alignment with this objective. Lake Kiwi Marina is open to the public and serves over 250,000 residents and visitors each year. For many visitors to the area, Lake Kiwi Marina would be a significant and lasting image of Oconee County. For some who only come for lake access, the marina may be the only image of Oconee County's people, recreation, all opportunities, and resources. The Lake Kiwi Marina is a primary access point for guests and residents to Lake Kiwi and a hub for exploring other green space and natural offerings throughout the county. The marina is currently undergoing master planning in cooperation with McMillan Paston Smith Architects to reorganize and beautify the marina property so that they better serve the public and the people of Oconee County. These improvements to this primary lake and recreational access point are being made by private funding and will not require county resources. However, these facilities serve Oconee County much like a park does. In some ways, it provides more access, as the marina is public and welcomes all. And unlike most parks, there are no entry fees to the marina. Providing well-planned and attractive temporary lodging on site is one more way that the marina can serve our citizens and guests. Public access to the waters for daily boating, fishing, and swimming are not the only forms of access that the public needs or desires. Access to lodging on the lake is also an essential form of access. Many folks simply want to stay on the water for a few days. However, access to lodging is restricted by those who simply do not want others having lakefront access because in their eyes it detracts from the values of their property. Where lake living is becoming more and more exclusive and most subdivisions prohibiting short-term rentals, there is a basic need for this form of access. The cabins at Lake Kiwi Marina would afford access to lodging and recreational access without putting any pressure on other residential neighborhoods. The Lake Kiwi Marina, in our eyes, is the ideal place for short-term rentals on Lake Kiwi. Another excerpt from the comprehensive plan. To work with the state, Sumter National Forest, Duke Energy, Army Corps of Engineers, and other organizations to provide reasonable and safe access to the county's lakes and rivers for residents and visitors while protecting private property rights. And then the next excerpt, explore partnerships and alternative methods of connecting residential, recreation, and other essential services in communities such as greenways and trails. Lake Kiwi Marina provides many of the services described here, as their mandate requires and would be included as other related organizations. By approving the use of cabins at Lake Kiwi Marina, the county is indeed providing access to the county's lakes for residents and visitors while protecting private property rights. Furthermore, we believe that the county should view Lake Kiwi Marina as one of the partnerships described above in connecting residents with recreation and other essential services. Section 11.1.6.4 of the same document, continue to cultivate ecotourism opportunities in key areas, such as near the new mountain bike facility at Stump House Tunnel and planned expansions of county parks, Sumter National Forest, and others. And we believe providing lodging on the lake will help increase ecotourism opportunities. Denying this project will reduce the opportunities for ecotourism. Temporary lodging at the Lake Kiwi Marina is a planned jumping-off point for adventures in ecotourism throughout Oconee County. As part of the Lake Kiwi Marina master planning and reorganization, the marina will be partnering with other businesses in the county for ecotourism packages for boating, biking, orchards, rivers, fishing, golf, and many others. Approving this use will help provide opportunities to connect with these and other businesses that depend on tourism in a new and exciting way. The final paragraph of the future plan use. states Oconee County is blessed with unparalleled natural resources. Perhaps the most critical challenge is how to balance protection of these resources with encouragement of appropriate and complementary growth and development. Included in that challenge is the need to provide reasonable and safe access to the county's lakes and rivers for residents while protecting the rights of private property owners. And we believe these cabins meet that challenge. Greater access will change how people experience and enjoy Oconee County. Providing residential cabins on the site of an existing marina is maybe the best scenario for meeting the intent of this section. Guests gain access to the lakes at an existing location and causes no further disturbance to the lake. No surrounding private property owners are affected. The lake as a natural resource is protected from the effects of new construction because of its distance from because of the distance from the water that the cabins sit and the existing shoreline management that's already in place. I'll take an excerpt from the Lake Overlay District because the 4 points that we require us to address the Lake Overlay District. Definition: the Lake Overlay District is not intended to be a separate zoning district, but shall be assigned to the shoreline areas of Oconee County lakes that are considered by Oconee County to be vital to the economic prosperity and general well-being of all county citizens. And then the intent from the same article: this overlay is intended to protect water quality, maintain natural beauty, and limit secondary impacts of new development that may negatively affect the lifestyles of those living near the lake shores and the general enjoyment of the lakes by all citizens. Here, we would like for you to know that the cabins proposed will not be waterfront. The existing infrastructure for shoreline stability, stormwater, and roads between the lake and the cabins are already in place. And you can see that, on the map there, we have Tuscany Lane goes between the cabins and the lake. Lost my place right here. So this limits the initial and secondary impacts of the development. The location of the cabins, the distance from the waterfront, and the buffering of the new construction from all directions means that there will be no disruption to the lifestyles or general enjoyment of the lake for our citizens. And I'll go into the buffering in all directions here in just a moment. So addressing item number 2, offerings of the cabins at Lake Kiwi Marina will be in the best interest of the county and the convenience of the community and public. The rental cabins at the Lake Kiwi Marina is the ideal place on the lake for short-term lodging. The Lake Kiwi Marina is, number 1, a well-established facility with a mandated business requirement from Duke Energy. They are regulated by FERC for responsible management of the lake. And they have on-site service and control. Short-term lakefront lodging is a need in Oconee County. However, it is restricted or prohibited in many areas and neighborhoods. Providing lodging here, as we said earlier, will alleviate some rental pressure from other lakefront neighborhoods for short-term rentals. Lake Kiwi Marina will offer lodging with access to the lake, boating, restaurants, and other facilities that will provide a great convenience to our residents and guests of Oconee County to connect and recreate. The cabins will be constructed adjacent to the existing Hidden Cove Event Center, which is also a wedding venue. The cabins will add benefit and convenience to the guest in the safety of on-site lodging. And those who have been celebrating will not need to drive across town for lodging. They can stay on site and off the road. Cabins will also provide lodging for other groups who come to the lake for fun or for more therapeutic benefit. The ability to stay overnight in the cabins will enhance the experience of many, including wounded veteran organizations and charitable organizations that benefit sick children and other organizations who come to the marina for multi-day events. The cabins at Lake Kiwi Marina will provide a greater level of handicap accessibility to the disabled. The cabins will be required to meet the accessibility requirements of the ADA, and some units will be required to be accessible. And, you know, the more we build, the more that will be required. There is a major shortage of handicap accessible lakefront homes for short-term or seasonal stays. Lake Huey Marina cannot currently provide any lodging facilities for those with disabilities, and the nature of boats and docks generally make access perilous for those with mobility challenges or who are in a wheelchair. Providing rental cabins at the marina with accessible features will allow the marina to better serve the public welfare. All right, item number 3. The marina is an existing business with many existing components, and some of them residential in nature. The Lake Huey Marina has been in existence since 1972, when it was first leased from Crescent Land and Timber as a marina and campground. Lake Huey Marina currently has, and has prior to the existence of the Lake Overlay District, offered rentals in the form of boats, boating equipment, recreational equipment, event center, boat storage, boat slips, and although not permitted for full-time residences, you know, many houseboats or boats with cabins are already overnight lodging for their occupants, as well as existing short-term rental homes. Buffering, the areas where the cabins are intended to be located is surrounded by existing Lake Huey Marina uses. And again, you can see on the site plan, we have to the north, the existing Lake Huey Marina maintenance, storage, sales, and restaurants, all on the north end. Again, this is all one piece of property here that you see. Existing boat storage facilities to the east. So if you look, there's yes, that area there, and that lot is in Seneca city limits. It was annexed into the city. But that is, again, part of the marina's ownership. An existing event center to the south. That's the Hidden Cove Event Center. And the existing marina facilities and roads, including docks and piers to the west along the shoreline. So we feel like the area where we're wanting to build the cabins is completely buffered on all sides. So other uses with similar characteristics to the proposed use include short-term rental properties and guest houses off Tuscany Lane and Old Salem Highway, operated by the Lake Huey Marina. And those are on the site plan as well. Marina Point subdivision, where short-term rentals are allowed. The subdivision is in the city of Seneca and is also buffered by the marina's existing event center. So that is all the way to the south off the plat there. Other residential rentals scattered throughout the neighboring unincorporated areas of Oconee County and adjacent Seneca city limits, as the city and the county intersects in several areas and around there. Let's see. The proposed cabins will be in harmony with and will be appropriate in appearance to the existing character and intended character of the general vicinity. The cabins are proposed A-frame structures incorporating some fine finishes and some rustic finishes. The use of various wood, stone, and metals blended with natural elements in and around the homes are very much in concert with Oconee County's rustic elegance theme and pays homage to our Appalachian mountain roots with a touch of modern design. The cabins will be low density, complying with all of the County Lake Overlay District density requirements. The cabins will not be waterfront. Tuscany Lane, an existing established road, and marina operations, including docks, boats, shoreline stabilization, etc., will be in between the cabins and the lake. And again, you can, I don't know if it's quite easy to tell, but Tuscany Lane is yes, it goes right through there, separating the cabin areas from the lake shore. The owners intend to seek permit applications for 3 cabins at this time. Locations are shown on the site plan with the red rectangles there. Additional cabins may be built in the future, but only 3 are planned at this time. The owners intend to try it out and see how it goes, offer them up, and hopefully we can build more. Hopefully they'll be a great addition to the county. These and any future permit applications would be reviewed by staff for density, height, and other general conformance to the applicable portions of Appendix A before being issued a permit. So really, all we're looking for is the special exception on the use. All the other items would go through, staff review and permitting. Traffic and parking, item number 4. Traffic, any and all permits, again, would go through the planning department and roads department for review prior to approval. All county road requirements would have to be met. If a traffic study is required or ever required based on future development, the owners must provide it at that time before building permits are issued. Allowing on-site lodging may actually decrease some traffic as patrons will stay on site and not be transient. So parking will be provided near each cabin. The parking will be consistent with and suitable for residential parking and meeting Oconee County requirements for residential homes, except for the handicap accessible units, which may require some additional parking detail. But that is the extent of our presentation. We thank you for listening, and I know that was a little bit of information there to consume. But we hope that we show the following, that we have shown that the cabins in question are a residential component of a commercial operation at the Lake Huey Marina. And we hope that we've shown that the residential rentals at the marina is an existing use, and the construction of additional cabins is a continuation of that same business. And we hope that we've thoroughly addressed all 4 items required in the special exception. And that's all I have for you, sir.
Thank you. Is there any other comment? Excuse me, before we go on to another comment, could I ask staff, could you comment on the issue of whether this is residential or commercial?
We met with Mr. Collins at least once in office, and after discussing it, we do believe this to be a commercial venture. We also, they have a lot of grandfathered commercial in the area already that would have probably a harder time getting approved today if it were submitted. And this is an additional commercial use in an already commercial area, so this is the exception to add an additional commercial component to an existing commercial parcel.
Okay. Could I ask you, you mentioned the road that these rental units will be behind it.
Yes.
As I was over, there's 2 roads. There's one runs right along the lake that services the rental piers, the boat piers. And then there's another road up further topographically. Are they behind the second road, the road you're talking about?
Yes, and Clay, do you think you could jump in on this question? He's asking about the roads there. There's Tuscany Lane.
Kind of, I don't.
Could you state your name, please? What's your name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Clay Shealy.
Clay Shealy, okay.
Nice to meet you. The Tuscany Lane is here, like Ben said, in front of these cabins. Now, I don't know of another road that's parallel here, other than Old Salem Road, and what is, at one time, was a logging road that's fairly well established if you look at it, but it's not formal. It's basically in the woods. That's all I really know.
Okay. I don't, I drove down there, I drove down both, there's 2 roads there.
All right, I follow what you're saying.
There's a road right along the lake.
I know what you're saying. What happens is Tuscany Lane does a hairpin turn so that you get this second road that goes by this last dock. And there used to be another dock there as well. It's not there anymore, so it doesn't have a dock to serve, but yeah, that road is there. It's kind of redundant at this point, but yeah, I'm sorry, I understand what you mean.
Okay, so you're back behind what I would call the Tuscany Lane is the further back.
Yeah, you got the road closest to the lake, which doesn't service docks anymore, because the docks aren't there. Then you have Tuscany Lane above that, and then you have these cabins just above that.
And you go down, and when you go down to the end of Tuscany, there's like a turnaround and there's a building up on the hill.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so we've heard from the applicant, we've heard staff comments. Any other comments from the staff?
They mentioned it as well, that this is subject to Appendix A. We did provide you guys with a full
Yes.
copy of Appendix A tonight as well, for you to review later. But, this is a exception for the commercial activity. This is not an approval of a plan to build.
Understand, okay. Okay, are there any other comments from those present who would like to have something to say? I don't think it was on the list, but, sir.
Yeah, I'm James Simmons. I should be the first one on the list, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I do have a list, I'm sorry. Too many lists. You're Mr. Simmons, okay?
Correct. One question I have of the board itself is, if you grant this commercial exception, does this, and they've already alluded to the fact that they would like to, if this is a successful venture, expand it. So what's the scope of the entire project? And does the granting of this commercial use, they don't have to go back for that? In other words, they're grandfathered in at this point and they can continue to build as they want to? Outside of having the plans, meeting the rest of the regulations and that stuff. So is this a one-time exception for the commercial?
I think that's a question we can consider, whether they're asking for 3, or we limit to 3, or more.
Right, and I would also like to know what the scope of the entire project is, if they had at that point in time frame to be able to say what they're on it. The reason I ask this, we're the subdivision to the north of the, called Marina Point, so that's, we live there at this point. One comment he made was that they want to consider it, residential units, but he kept alluding to that it's temporary lodging, so what is it, temporary lodging, or are people residing there in the length of time that they're residing? Obviously, you're gonna face additional traffic and that kind of stuff that's in there on that side of it. So I know they're looking at it from a residential point, but then they keep going back to temporary lodging, which kind of confuses the issue in my mind as well. So I don't know, they're asking for a commercial exception, and that's what I'm not sure I understand that concept at this point, what you're talking for in terms of the lake overlay. Again, is this a one-time granted thing, and then they don't have to ask for this commercial exception as they continue to build? Or if they wish to continue to build, is what I would ask.
We can consider that.
You don't have an answer at this point?
I don't have an answer. This really is not a...
Okay, and then the final thing, and I guess this would be as they continue to expand and they put more additional cabins in there, would there be some way to look at some sort of noise abatement type thing on that side?
Okay, yes, sir, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone have a question?
I wonder how close are these actually to the property that he's referring to?
Marina Point is well above this, it sits above,
I think he's just worried about future traffic and
he's just worried about future traffic
future
down
growth and traffic and.
Marina
things
Point
that-
Road here, whatever,
if this
Old Salem
takes
Road.
off,
Old Salem Road, okay.
if it takes off.
Marina Point sits well above, and they've got a history of trying to deal with a lot of vacation rentals, that kind of thing. Know that. Okay,
Oh, there was someone else.
yes, I know, Robert Moore.
Good evening. I am Robert Moore, and I'm speaking in opposition to this because I don't think there should be any commercial activity in the overlay. This is a request to expand something that Mr. Coley had said would have a hard time getting approved today. So I don't know that we want to go further down that path. I think when you look at exceptions to the lake overlay, It should be for when there's not another alternative, or where it has a very definite purpose for the common good. Now, we definitely have alternatives here, because we got a bunch of hotels that have been built, and people can stay there. They don't have to stay in these cabins. And I'm not sure that the common good is going to be served by this. What I'm hearing is, I mean, we live here, so the common good is for people to come from the outside. And he was talking a while ago. He covered a lot of ground, and he had a lot of minutes. I'm not going to take that many minutes because I don't think it's really necessary. This is not a unique property. This purpose, I don't believe, serves anything other than to expand a commercial interest that was granted, basically grandfathered. And so I would really request you to listen to what the words say here in the Code of Ordinances that says there are related uses that may generate negative secondary effects impacting the quality of life, and those should be discouraged. Should be discouraged. That means say no. And I would ask that you would encourage them to go build their cabins outside of the overlay. The overlay was fought for to protect the lake. And I would ask that you would honor that. Thank you.
Where do you live in relation to?
I live in Seneca.
Okay.
I'm not close to there.
Okay, thank you.
I oppose anything that's in the overlay, unless it's going to cure cancer and COVID.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Steve Owings.
I'm Steve Owings, and I, excuse me, I live in Marina Point Court. Excuse me, got a little congestion today, but I'm not sick. And I would just take a couple of moments to, I don't know how to say this, but it was alluded to that there's already rental properties in the area, so it's kind of zoned for rentals. But I guess I should make you aware that Marina Point Court, which sits directly behind the marina, it's not way north, it's right behind the marina. And we have 24 lots and 4 rental houses, and we're in the middle right now. We've got a final meeting in February, at the end of February, and we're expecting a vote because the HOA only needs 2/3. So we feel like that we will not have that. Now, that's not super important here, except it was referenced that was, this was already some kind of rental area. Second from that, I look at this not as a residential, but it's an expansion of a hospitality business. This is clearly going to be for renting people to rent that do not live there, going to be short-term rentals. Two things. We've already heard earlier today in the first variance that was talked about that there was a discussion of, how football weekends are, people rent, then they bring all their friends over, and that absolutely is going to happen. So the reason I'm worried about it from our side is that the one negative that we have on the marina, and by the way, in general, I love the fact that the way they've cleaned it up, and I love the future expansion plan that they're doing. But the tiki hut, at times, not in the last year and a half or so, but it has been where bands and loud music was played, and it's brutal. Now, it's brutal with us being behind it, and the band is facing the other direction. And across the bay, you've got a new neighborhood there that haven't witnessed it, but that sound is really going to travel across the water. And my feeling is that the more people that we have staying there, the more entertainment there's going to be at that point. Now, that's a supposition, so I can't say that couldn't be handled, but I would love to hear which ways we can address the noise abatement before we let this get started. Once again, I reiterate the same question. Why we're saying 3. I would say it will be deemed a success because there's demand for rental property. what's the scope of the whole project? Because that's what we really need to be talking about. If long-term, if there's enough room to put 14, 18, then that's what we're considering today, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you for your time.
Sir, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to say something? Yes, sir.
My name's Robert Sedler. We live at
Sedler?
Sedler, S-E-D-L-E-R. I don't want to say anything in opposition to the original presentation because I don't want to seem against handicapped veterans, puppy dogs, and kittens. But we're building our forever home right on the lake, and we are essentially the closest to this development. And our concerns are enjoying our own peace and quiet. You know, anything anybody else would in a neighborhood, want to be able to enjoy their own property, sit on the back porch. So I share the concern about the number of cabins going there. I was personally at my property one night after a Clemson game, and that event center was going like a college keg party. I mean, noise, no quiet after midnight. And that's what I don't want to see. If it's going to be an event center for weddings, people at the wedding party are going to stay in these cabins. They're going to party all night in this event center, and it's going to be a disruption. I not only echoing off the lake, but directly across from where it is. So these are my concerns for your consideration. The other concerns, areas that were brought up is the renters, where will they park their boats? You know, where will they be swimming and access to from these cabins? Right now, it's designated as no swimming area all the way there from where the boat docks are. So is that going to change? And I share the same thing as the other gentleman about, you know, once we crack the door open with these three, then what's it going to be? There's other neighbors in our neighborhood that are from out of state, and they have lots not yet built. Our house is under construction, and they may have been here if it was more convenient. But it's basically to preserve the peace and quiet that we want to enjoy there. I didn't get the benefit of the documents you were handed at the last minute. All we got basically was the map and the locations of these things, so I don't know what else was part of the plan, but you get the gist of what I'm getting
I
at.
think we understand, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Earlier, you alluded to the character of the community and the several of the projects on that side of it. And that's, I think, what's that change, what we're bringing up to, is that does the character of our communities in that area change, the character of the lake overlay change because of the addition of the commercial venture on that side of it, and not knowing the scope. That's the biggest concern that we have.
Okay, anyone else have anything to say? Sir?
Hello, my name is Danny Gregg. This is my wife Bridget, and we live at 804 Mountain Way, further away than Bob lives from the proposed project. Our main concerns are two. What would the expansion be? But more importantly is noise. We live, if you can see where the current marina and where the band plays and where the tiki hut is, Bob lives directly across that inlet from where the event center is. So the event center is already very close to him, and the noise he's talking about from there is tremendous if there's a party there. But from the marina, when the band is playing, we live up the hill away from that, and if I sit on my outdoor living area at night at 9 or 9:30, I can't hear my television for the band. I can hear my music for the band now. And they generally cut off at the right time, and I don't want you to get me wrong, we like the marina. We have a concrete golf cart path that goes down there. Many people in our neighborhood use the path to get to their boats. We like to go down and have lunch at the Tiki Hut. But the noise at night is very, very loud. It interferes with life on your porch. If this happens, and that turns into rental houses with an event center, and it's much, much closer than the marina is to us, it'll just exacerbate that problem. And I thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Amy Sedler. I live across the inlet with my husband. Well, I don't live there, but we're building there. And my concern is, where are these people going to use the lake? Where are they going to go swim? Where are they going to play? Currently, we have people coming from, I don't know where they come from, but they just show up in that inlet and they swim and they splash, and we don't know who they are. They throw their trash out. They hang out on the dock that's there. And it says no trespassing, but that rule is just not upheld at all, and that concerns me. Where are these people going to be enjoying the water? Will it be in that area or another area?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments, please? Anyone at all? Hang on a second. Okay, here, I just want to make an editorial comment. Please don't come up to us afterward and say, hey, you didn't consider this. We've had that happen once before. Now's the time to say something if you want to say it. So, once we close comments, it's closed. And if you got something we ought to consider, please do it. So, any other comments? Okay, I'd like to hear a response from the applicants, please.
The nature of the marina is there's going to be the public there. And to try to put the project in perspective, we have over 250,000 visitors per year, and there's 300 boats. There's 75 just in the area of the cabins. And there is noise there. But just to give you just another perspective, sometimes we'll get complaints from the houses making noise for people staying on their houseboats. But that's just the nature of people. People, for Clemson games, the gentleman's right, especially for Clemson games, people like to have a good time. A lot of people buy houses on the lake, especially in this area, because it's so convenient to Clemson. And it's really one of the selling points for us to develop here, is because of that convenience and because of that market. But people are having a good time all around the lake in Marina Bay, in Marina Point, everywhere. So there is noise, but it's coming from all directions. We do our best to control that when we're able to. The cabins themselves, they're not hotel rooms. So you're not trying to fill a hotel room. You're not trying to necessarily get a one-night rental. You're not trying to get people that are just kind of showing up there or trying to keep the party going. It's really built for families. And that's the focus of everything that we do there, and that's the focus of what we're trying to do here, is really have a place that families don't have to leave the marina to go somewhere else to stay. They can stay where there's already 300 boats. They can stay where there's already a restaurant. So that's a part of how we're trying to serve the public and serve it beyond what we're able to do now. That's all. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Can I have a question, Mr. Shealy?
Oh, yes, sir.
Comment was made, where are these people going to swim?
Well,
got all that water sitting right out there. Where are they going to swim?
That's a big part of what we're trying to give them as a total experience. So some people may just come and want to stay in the cabins. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but we interviewed 2 civil engineers, and their concept for this project is kind of what they're used to with many projects on the lake, where the developer comes in and they kind of take the land down to what's bare, and then they build it back up. But we're not doing that at all. So we had to find an engineer who was comfortable with being harmonious with the topography as it already is, the trees as they already are, and it being symbiotic with what's there. We're also we're not trying to sell these. People who are here live there, but we live there too. So we're going to maintain ownership of these properties. So we have a vested interest in making the property not necessarily what sells best, but what we want to see long-term and what we think other people would want to see long-term too, because we're vested in our land and we're vested in the business. But, so yeah, some people may just want the cabin, but others we're hoping are going to want the cabin. They're going to want to take their family boating for the day. So they're going to go tubing or they're going to go skiing or whatever it is they want to do. They have the option to use canoes and kayaks and paddle boards. We do that within the marina as well. So there's a lot of ways they can swim in the lake.
What's to prevent them from using the water that's right in front of them?
I think it's the same as it is for anyone who has to slip on the water. You know, you're not supposed to swim in the marina. Do some people swim in the marina? I'm sure they do.
I have.
Yeah, I have too. I fell in quite a few times and had to swim. But you know, we ask people not to do that. But you know, if we're aware of it, you know, we can get people to find some other options.
Is there a way you could do this without being in the lake overlay?
I mean, my answer is no, because we're constrained so much on the property. One part of the property you see is for the store, it's for the shop, it's for parking for the public, it's for all these things that make it somewhat industrial, to be honest. It's still a marina operation. So to soften it up, we're trying to use the property that's natural and try to give people the option to be there, which is where I would want to be too. I'd much rather be there than I would be, you know, next to a fuel dock or next to another public dock.
Noise is an issue that's been raised by several folks. Can you address, I know that's a big issue for you on an ongoing basis.
Yeah,
Can you address that, please?
It's exactly what I mentioned before, where the noise is coming from everywhere. It's not just coming from the marina. It's coming from people having a great time at their houses on Clemson football weekends and having a good time. We'll get noise reports from the opposite way. So yeah, it's an issue on big party weekends. We control it at the restaurant by requiring a cutoff, and I think generally they do that. And if they don't do that, you find out about it real quick. So that's been, I think, fairly successful, because I would say several years ago it was an ongoing problem, but it doesn't. You know, we haven't had those same problems in quite a while. Other noise, you know, you'd have to be a little more specific as to what we're talking about. I'm not aware.
I'm thinking about the tiki huts, what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's the only, that's the one I think most people think about, and that's the one where we have the most control over. Tiki Hut's been closed for the last 4.5 months. You know, it'll reopen again in the spring, and it'll still have those same constraints that require them to, you know, turn the music off.
But the music will continue in the evening. It goes until, I don't know what the time limit is, 10 or 11 o'clock, whatever your cutoff limit is. But
right, yeah.
You're sitting on your porch at 8 o'clock at night, you're gonna hear the tiki hut.
Yeah, you could. If they have a band, you'll hear it, but they don't always have a band. But when they do, yeah, you'll probably hear it.
That's just it's an adjunct to this request. is all
Right,
I'm
right,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say in rebuttal to what concerns folks have raised?
Anything else you want to?
I might like to address the, I think a couple people brought up the residential versus commercial aspect of it, and, you know, it being a commercial use. And whether whether it's called a residential use or a commercial use, per the zoning ordinance or per the lake overlay guidelines or, by staff's definition, it still remains a residential use, a place where people stay and sleep and abide. And, I have a background as a building official. I was the, building official for Seneca and Clemson, and I kind of know the building code in and out, and I know that the definition of a residential occupancy, and this is absolutely the definition of a residential occupancy, whether it is a full-time residence or a part-time residence, it's still a residential use. And there's it's just a little different than a commercial use, because people stay there. It's not going to have the the noise impact or the traffic impact or some of the height impact of commercial structures would there. They're cabins, good-looking cabins. So, is there anything else I might be able to answer?
Yes, let me ask you one other question if I could.
Yes, sir.
Your request here includes 3 cabins. I think you said, hey, if we're successful, we'd like to expand. What would happen if we approved this tonight for 3 cabins, and then you wanted to expand, you came back with a proposal for whatever you think is going to be viable, whatever you want to do long-term, and you'd need to come back for further approval?
That's an excellent question, and it's not my personal decision. It's the owner's decision. And if the 3 cabins are successful and they decide to build more, it would absolutely be governed by the Lake Overlay District's density guidelines. If you think about the density of homes that can be built anywhere else in the Lake Overlay District, it's the same density here. So.
Well, I'm just saying, if we limited this request and approval to 3 cabins, that's all you'll be permitted to build without further, another go at it, another special exception hearing.
Well, sir.
I understand you'd like to have.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm trying to understand what it would mean to you and your plans. But
yes, sir. And again, that would be a better question for the
that's fine. Whoever wants to answer the question.
Yeah, and maybe Clay will answer that for you. But again, as far as the maximum density, it would be absolutely regulated by the Lake Overlay District's regular density guidelines. Yes.
Mr. Shealy, would you like to respond to that?
Can you repeat your question just so I know?
Well, my question is, if we were to say we approve this for 3 cabins tonight, that's all you'd be able to do under this request. And you come back and you say, you decide later on that, hey, we really got room for 10, we want to do 10, you'd have to come back for another special exception hearing. Respond to that, please. Other than not liking it.
Yeah, I would say that we have a lot of things we want to do that we need to do. We need to build a new shop. We need to do upgrades. So this is one of probably 20 things we need to do. So do I have a master plan for cabins? I really don't. I knew in the back of my mind that if it were successful, it would be nice to be able to build additional cabins if we liked doing it, if the community liked it, if the customer liked it. And it would be governed by the same thing that these cabins are, the density, just like we were doing a professional lakefront development. It would be the same type of constraints that we would have. That's as far as my vision went. I really am thinking about other things other than what do we do beyond the 3 cabins.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I hope that answers your question.
It does, yes, thank you. Yes. Gives us room for discussion anyway.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we've heard rebuttal from the applicant. Any other questions the board members may have of the applicant or?
I've got a question for staff.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm assuming these are conceptuals in our packet?
Yes, sir.
Of what they're gonna look like? Can they meet Appendix A?
It's hard to judge scale from a photograph, So there are specific height requirements, there are several things we'd have to go over when we get to a more detailed plan, but we
Okay.
would require that it did meet Appendix A.
Because Appendix A is for commercial, they're not residential, so I mean, is,
We would, my understanding and what I'm looking at is that it would be required to meet Appendix A.
right.
That's what we feel, yeah. And I do need to say.
Which my understanding of Appendix A is not aren't cabins.
Excuse me?
Or my understanding of Appendix A is that they're not cabins to meet those requirements.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Would if you were required to meet Appendix A, which that's what you said,
Yes.
okay, these cabins that they're gonna, does that, from my understanding of Appendix A, it's more of a commercial industrial
Yeah,
requirements.
that was the impression I got too when
Yeah.
I read it.
Well,
It's not residential, this is residential.
This is a
That's commercial.
secondary, this is a, well, it's not even secondary, it's a tertiary commercial use
Yep.
inside the lake overlay, which requires it meet Appendix A, which is a building requirement for
Commercial
commercial.
So that has to do with lighting, landscaping,
Setbacks is
Setbacks.
setbacks, that kind of thing.
height, signage, your lighting,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff, so. They just don't seem to meet, but.
Right, like, there's probably several things that are gonna be non-applicable.
Right.
In there.
Okay.
However, there are several that are gonna be applicable.
Okay.
That are gonna be required to be met.
And this became because the county did a lake overlay
Yes.
over this, where there's existing commercial.
Yes, and I need to apologize if I said it'd be difficult to get the same commercial in here now. They would be required to go through the same steps to have any commercial, is what I should have said. So that was an error in just talking, and I apologize for not being prepared to make that statement.
Yeah, no,
But
gotcha.
you have multiple commercial enterprises going on inside the lake overlay. That
Right.
you would be required to get multiple variances for if you were going to do that.
If I may, you can amend Appendix A to meet the
Absolutely.
needs.
Okay. All right, so we just went through the Appendix A when we did the fair play overlay and
Sure.
walked through it step by step.
Yeah, you can
Decide
amend
what was
it
gonna
to
pull in and
however
what we
y'all
didn't
feel.
want, so it's pretty, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the other thing I would say, and just in the application materials, you have all the application materials they submitted. There was not a request for a specific number of cabins. The site plan that is up there does show 3, but that was not specified. I just want to make that clarification that our report and our staff comments do not reference 3 as a, let's go do this now.
Are we
just wanna make
authorized,
that clarification.
are we authorized to limit that with our
It's under your purview.
approval?
I think we can, yes.
You
We
can
can do
why I
that.
asked the
set
question.
You can set the limitations as you see fit, or you can lift them as you see fit. So you could,
Yeah, but current intent is 3 cabins, am I right?
that's what's on page 6 of this.
Current intent is 3 cabins.
Correct intent, yes, sir.
We didn't pick that out of the air, that's 3 cabins that showed here.
It's on the, so the first time I've seen the
It's
number
not
3,
specified in the words, though, that's what,
Right.
that's what I think we're
Just on the
talking about
drawing.
addressing, is it's not
On the drawing.
specified in the words, do we want to put
On the
words in
drawing.
there that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had staff comments, how about we talk this a little bit and then go to considering the issues?
Yeah, and just a couple of things. One is, there's a reason that commercial is not allowed in lake overlay, right? I mean, there's a reason that that's the case. The question is, why should that change here? Personally, I like the idea of these cabins as part of the marina. I could see the synergy. It seems to make sense. The thing that scares me is that when they're rental units, particularly short-term, I live in a neighborhood that had a lot of short-term rentals, and it was a disaster. They make a lot of noise, 5 times as much noise as a regular household. So to me, short-term rentals was just a big red flag. So the question is, if we do allow a commercial entity in lake overlay, are we gonna get bit in the tail by making short-term rentals be that item that's gonna be allowed in there? That worries me.
You think there's any short-term rentals on the lake overlay currently? Is it Airbnbs and,
Yeah.
yes?
I suppose, I don't know.
Oh, I
That's a
know there
good.
are.
Well, you've got some in your neighborhood, right?
But we're not taxing them as commercial, are
Marina
we?
Point has some, that's part of their
Yeah.
concern, is they have some.
You know, I'm not a big proponent of short-term rentals, generally speaking. And, I mean, we've had some in our neighborhood, and they can be a disaster, right? But in this particular instance, they say the rentals are contained within their own property, on their own street and everything else. And that, I think, tends to make it more of a concentrated, controlled environment, which really puts it, the onus on them to control it. And it, you know, really doesn't impinge upon anybody else other than maybe the traffic out on the road going in.
In the north, but it's obviously a commercial organization,
Yeah,
and
but it's
you put the overlay on top of something that's.
But it's really a residential, commercial activity, which is, it's different. It's not a straight industrial, commercial type of thing. It's not a store, it's not a dollar store, it's not something like that. It's something really, when it really touches on the idea of the overlay, which is really to enhance residential.
Well, the overlay is to protect lake residential properties
Yeah.
from undue commercial
Development.
development.
But this
and
commercial was already,
interference.
this commercial was there and been there.
Yeah, actually, so.
Long
to me,
before.
Yeah.
There are two sides, I understand,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to,
yeah.
but the lake overlay is
Yeah.
designed to protect not only residents, but everyone who uses the lake from the imposition of commercial activity on the lake. That's what,
It's
but
there
they,
to protect us also from overdevelopment.
Overdevelopment, yeah.
And I think that's where that's what this is approaching. He's already got the tiki hut, he's already got the warehouse, he's already got the marina, he's already got whatever, and now he wants to get into the rental business. And to me, it feels like he's trying to have his hands in everything when there's motels not even a mile away that these people can stay at. And if he wants to protect them, he can have a shuttle service. And we're gonna deal with the motel and shuttle them back and forth so that they can enjoy the tiki house.
good point.
They can enjoy the boats, and then they can go home to the motel. I personally cannot approve anything that's built inside the Lake District. I've said that from the beginning. I always vote no, because that lake's there. I used to not care quite as much, but now it's my drinking water, because Walhalla's tapped into that. And I just feel like the more stuff we allow on it, the more sea-doos and all that it's gonna be polluted just from the use. And when you encourage more people to come and stay, and they're staying right on the shoreline, then you're having more use of the lake, and eventually it's gonna turn. It's a living, breathing thing, and eventually we're gonna kill it.
You know, one way to look at this is that if, in fact, these rental units, say were being proposed in a non-lake overlay area,
Well, that's what I
would
asked.
would we approve it? And probably not. And to me, the idea of the synergy with the marina kind of makes some sense, at least for me. That's why I would kind of lean that direction. But that has the negative aspect of short-term rentals and the noise and stuff that goes with that. Would having these single-family or single one-bedroom cabins be put any place on the lake other than here? Probably we would not like that. And it probably wouldn't
Well,
fit
the
into
same
the
problem, if
comprehensive
they're on
plan.
the, if they're on the lake, same problem, they're within the lake overlay. Overlay extends across the whole lake, the
Right.
whole lake. I go way back to when the overlay was established as part of the CEO. I'm an ardent supporter of the lake overlay. I have no interest in letting up in the lake overlay, the restrictions of the lake overlay. I'm a strong proponent of the lake overlay. So, any other comments or discussion? Sounds like we're ready to make a decision. Let's go through our questions. Now, this is a special exception hearing, so the special exception request is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and consistent with the spirit, purposes, and the intent and specific requirements of this chapter to include the definition and intent of the district into which a special exception is being requested. I have a motion in the
So
affirmative.
moved in the affirmative.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I personally think he covered the comprehensive plan pretty well, and this probably is consistent with the general requirements of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking.
And that's where we get kind of
That's-
confused a little bit. We got other questions here we can answer another way. I personally could vote in the affirmative for this one. I could be had. What do you want to convince me the other way? Any other discussion?
Call for the vote.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor that it is in accordance, raise your hand, please. We have 5 affirmatives. There are no negatives. Is in the best interest of the county, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare. Can I have a motion in the affirmative?
So moved in the affirmative.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
And that one, there are a bunch of pluses and minuses on each side of the ledger. But I do think if they put it someplace, having it by the marina makes sense, but should they put it any place is the real question.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not, well, I don't know.
This is where I'm a strong no. I just think it's not. That's where I can hang my hat.
Yeah, when you get down to it.
Get the convenience of the community, public welfare, and the intent of the lake overlay.
Lake overlay, that's
It's not.
valid.
Any other discussion?
I guess just where I got heartburn is this commercial. It was already set up commercial before this overlay came. You know, it's like people moving in and like down in Fairplay, come in and say, well, I don't like those chicken houses. Well, the chicken houses have been
They're
there.
already there.
They're there. You moved here and you knew it. This is a commercial operation down there that's, you know, he's just gonna do 3.
But it's additional commercial operation in a residential area.
If you can guarantee me that there's only gonna be 3.
Well, that's all we can authorize. We can do that. He said we could do that.
But what I'm saying, guarantee me that there's only gonna be 3 forever. That he
Well,
can't come back in here and
Well, sure he can.
redo the rules every 6 months or every year or.
That's part of the process, but I mean, yeah, no, there's no guarantees, but that's just where I am is
Once you open the door, you
this
can't
is
close it.
this is a commercial use piece of property that, you know, that you put the overlay on top of later.
Well, so I think that an option we have, and we need to cover that now before we start getting these votes here. We could approve this whole thing and put on the stipulation that the only 3 units are allowed, and any more units, if they decide they want to build more units in the future, would have to come back for a special exception hearing.
That's what I think we should do.
And so that's an option we have, but to do that, we're gonna have to be answering the positive for all 4 questions. So why don't we have a little more discussion about that right now, about what do you guys think? Do you wanna open the door a little bit, give them 3 or not? Or 3 or 5 or 10, whatever you.
No, I think if we limit it to 3, we might be on solid ground, and part of it being that, you know, if there's a place to have a rental, it's already in a commercial, something that's already been established as a commercial or industrial type of an environment. And I think that if you're gonna allow it any place, that's probably the best place for it. You don't want it in your neighborhoods and things like that.
Right.
And you don't want somebody else to come in and try to establish another rental community someplace else on the lake. I could go along with this one with a limit of 3.
Don't we have to change amend the original motion?
Well, I think what we come down to, we can add restrictions when we go
When
to
we
the
do the
following.
final approval, we could add the restriction.
Discussion, conditions, motion, second vote, so we can put conditions on at the end. So, but we need to have an affirmative on the, all the way through here, okay? So that's why we're having this discussion now.
Okay, so can you repeat the motion that we're gonna vote on?
Okay, so,
Well, we gotta get the 4 questions though first, right?
okay, well, we got
Then
our
you make
question.
a
We've
motion.
we've already approved the first question. The second question is in the best interest of the county, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare. We have a motion and a second. If we approve that, we can go ahead and consider a restriction of 3. If we don't approve that, the whole thing's gonna sink. So that disapproves the whole project, so. Okay, so, based on our thinking that we're going to limit it to 3 at the end, could I have a vote on this one, please? Is in the best interest of the county, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there are 5 affirmatives. Is suitable for the property in question, and designed, constructed, or operated and maintained so as to be in harmony with and appropriate in appearance to the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved in the affirmative.
Second? Okay, discussion.
Yeah,
I
that
think
goes
this-
right to what you're saying, is that if they're gonna put it someplace, that's probably the most logical place to put it.
Well, he said he's gonna put it on the existing lays, not grading down and putting back. It's
They've got,
It's
it's
engineered.
on their own road, it's within, the road is within their own property. It's all encircled within the property, so it's a self-contained, situation.
Well, if you look at the pictures here too, the vegetation that's in there looks just like the pictures of the proposed cabins. I mean, it's medium-sized pine trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Didn't we just vote on it?
I don't think so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5 affirmative, or no opposed. Fourth question, is suitable in terms of effects on highway traffic, parking, and safety with adequate access arrangements to protect streets from undue congestion and hazards.
So moved in the affirmative.
Your second?
Second.
Okay.
And with 3 one-bedroom units isn't gonna affect the traffic.
3, with the limitation on 3, you're.
Right, and it's pretty self-contained, and, yeah, I don't see that's a problem. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have 5 in affirmative, no no's. Okay. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed special exception be approved? I'm just gonna add something here, be approved with the restriction that a maximum of 3 cabins, no more, can be built under this special exception.
So moved in the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Can I actually ask you to make an addition?
Please.
Those 3 cabins coincide with the site plan of where they are shown?
Exactly, I forgot to say that. I was gonna say that too. So,
And do we also want to include the fact that the Appendix A applies?
Well, that's just understood though, right? That's what you
Should
said.
always
That's
apply.
It falls in that, and it's automatic.
that's understood.
Okay.
It's in the codes.
Okay, does everyone understand the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 cabins as designed.
For the location
Per
on the
location,
plan.
As delineated on the plat
Site
submitted
plan.
with the application. Mr. Secretary, does that meet your needs?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? We okay with our compromise? My only discussion would be, that gives a chance for everyone to get a feel for how it's gonna work. They can get a feel for what they wanna do, they come back with a specific,
Neighbors.
maybe in 3 years, they come back with a master plan for the whole operation, which says, hey, here's where these fit, and we wanna put a total of 10 in and
Neighbors
whatnot.
get to-
The neighbors get a chance to see what the effect of the 3 is, and can come back and say, hey, we're wrong, or we're right, we don't want it anymore. So, okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, 5 affirmative. Okay, that's all our business. I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks, for your patience.
Thank you.
I know I take a long time.
You need You got it, that's what makes it effective.
Somebody got something and you put something on and tell them to keep it more, because we decide. That's, again, it's just like the chicken houses in Fairplay, you know, they're there, and you moved in there.
Yeah, that's right, you can.
And, you know.
You guys have
thank you.
have a neat arrangement. I hope it's successful.
Yeah.
I
I'm
hope
sorry?
it's successful.
Yeah.
Well, the market's there. I gotta believe the market's there. You're gonna be
And
successful
if you're
with it.
thinking about other ones,
careful to do it right and
successful
make sure-
you control the thing is gonna probably
Neighbors have